So why is Georgios so damn sexy? Good. I meant good. Why is Georgios so damn good? Georgios is a fantastic 2-star servant, and today we're going to look into just as to why this man, unlike almost every other servant in the game, has yet to receive a single buff, nor has he needed one. But he has gotten sexier. Hello, my name is Charles-Marie de Talleyrand-Périgord, and welcome to this all-new video on Georgios. Now, as some of you may know, it has been quite a while since I released my last FGO video, but just like a winter's rash, I come back every year. Now, why are we discussing Georgios today? Georgios is a top-tier defensive servant in Fate's Grand Order, and all the while only incurring 4-party cost to your team, meaning he brings immense value for an incredibly low cost, making him usable not only at the start, but also late game as well, even when surrounded by 5-star servants. Georgios' defensive excellence stems from a kit that is entirely dedicated to that niche. This begins with his first skill, Guardian Knight rank A+, a 3-turn taunt. Now this skill is phenomenal for many reasons. First of all, it is his first skill, making it accessible right out of the gate without needing to invest resources into Georgios, which is especially useful for newer players early in the game. You already have a solid taunt. Secondly, it also comes with a defensive buff of up to 40% that lasts for all 3 turns. It's quite surprising, especially amongst early servants, how rare this actually is. Even Leonidas, another fantastic servant who's very competent on the defensive end, only gets a defensive buff via his Noble Phantasm, Thermopylae and Amortaia, and not through his 1-turn taunt skill. While Chevalier d'Eon, a personal favourite servant of mine and my first servant, sadly only gets a heal with their taunt, and that has issues of its own, but that's for another time. At maximum level, it comes with a cooldown of just 5 turns, making it ideal for multiple uses throughout a battle, although that's something we'll cover in a bit more detail a little bit later. This is complemented by his second skill, Martyr's Soul. Now at first glance this skill may appear the least useful, and it perhaps is, but on Georgios it has far more value than it would have on almost anybody else. Whilst the heal is not particularly great numerically, once it's combined with Georgios' high defense, it's actually far more useful than it sounds. Not only that, the mental debuff resist also has its uses. After all, having used taunt, Georgios is likely to be the target of many a charm and confusion, and this gives him a healthy resistance to it. Finally, we come to his final skill, Battle Continuation, something of a rarity in modern FGO, as the vast majority of these gut skills have since been upgraded into something more particular. Not Georgios' as of yet, which does mean he has future buff potential, as this skill is being phased out of the game, and it wouldn't be the biggest surprise in the world if he did eventually get it buffed. Essentially, it's your standard 5-turn gut skill on a 7-turn cooldown. Not too amazing, but with Georgios' remaining kit, something pretty solid. Now, you may think that's where Georgios' defense ends, but actually it goes even further. Firstly, looking to his passive kit, he has Magical Resistance rank A, which is incredibly useful for combating debuffs, especially mental debuffs when partnered with Martyr's Soul, which of course, given his status as a taunt servant, is very useful. This defensive presence even extends into his Noble Phantasm, the single target arts NP, Ascalon. While it doesn't do a lot of damage, it does increase Georgios' defense by a further amount for 1 turn, scaling with Overcharge. Combined with Guardian Knight and the plethora of other defensive tools at his disposal, this can make the man an impenetrable fortress. But is that always a good thing? Whilst in most cases you want Georgios to last as long as possible, that isn't always the case. Whilst he is an excellent defensive servant, he's not doing too much on the offensive end. Yes, Georgios is a man whose sword is about as sharp as a bouncy castle. Except the bouncy castle probably has more injuries on its hands. Which is something that becomes particularly notable in this new offensively powerful era that we're in. As I mentioned before, Ascalon doesn't do too much damage, and he also has incredibly low base attack. perhaps even more problematic, is that he is a rider class servant. What this means is that he has an incredibly high star weight, so he will conceal many a star within your team, taking it away from the more effective offensive servants in the lineup. This means you may not want him to be around for too long. You may want him to tank a hit or two, maybe tank a Noble Phantasm early in a boss fight if you know it's coming, but then you want him out of the way. Well, there is one way we can do that. Simply don't use his gut skill. He has enough defense to last for those opening few turns, and you can also give him outside support should you wish to do so, but then just don't use the gut skill to make sure that he bows out when needed. Now, soon, I hear you say, what about his third append skill? It is anti-berserker, which does give him an attack bonus against berserkers, which, given that he already has class advantage over them, would surely make him very useful when fighting them. Sure. If you want to run a Georgios offense, all power to you. But seriously, I actually think that's really cool. Don't tell anyone I said that, though. However, Georgios does have one use on the offensive end, and that is he can give birth to dragons. No, you heard that right. And if you want to know more about that, you can check out one of my previous videos where I talked about one of the strangest metas in FGO, but definitely one of the funnest. The dragon birthing meta. That sounds so bloody weird. But to truly examine Georgios' greatness, we have to look beyond what can be seen and into his Bond craft essence. Bond craft essences have something of a bad rap. Their effects are often mundane, and in many cases even obsolete, and they are capped at 100 HP and 100 attack in terms of stat bonuses, which is incredibly underwhelming and really should be fixed. However, they do have lovely art. But that's not why we're here today. We are discussing Georgios' Bondcraft Essence, which may be one of the best in the game. What it does is, upon Georgios' death, is to give the other party members 1 hit of invincibility and 3 turns of damage cut. This is a fantastic Bondcraft Essence that actually has genuine use. And if you're not planning to use Ascalon, and therefore don't need a craft essence with NP charge, absolutely feel free to use it, because with Georgios out of the way, you can get your true firepower to the front. That said, there is an additional craft essence option when it comes to Georgios, which are craft essences that grant other types of bonuses to your allies upon their demise, particularly NP battery. Perhaps the most notable and accessible example of this is the Battle of Camlan. Georgios has one other use. Alongside Leonidas and Chen Gong, he's great in solos. You kill him off in turn 1. Poor thing. And so, it is clearly evident that Georgios is one of the best free-to-play servants, if not one of the best all-around servants in Fate Grand Order. What is most certainly true is that every Chaldea should have room for good old Georgios. I've been Charles-Marie d'Italien Peridor. If you enjoyed, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and check out some of my other videos, and I'll try and make it less than 10 months until my next one.